beaming across the eastern townships from the heart of Brome-Missisquoi. This is 99.1 CIDI.
Hello and welcome to The Alternatives. You have choices. I'm your host, Ilya Kavoukas, and the show is brought to you once again by the Sunshine Center in Sutton. And this is part 2 of our interview with Joan Mathews. Joan Mathews is from Sutton, has also a beautiful center in Sutton where she teaches yoga and invites other teachers as well to come and teach their expertise in yoga and other therapies, other modalities, other disciplines. Yes. So we are here again with Joan in the fabulous studio here at CIDI 99.1 FM in Knowlton. And we were taken on a journey the last time we were together with Joan of her life and her experiences of being a good girl,
and then a bad girl.
A bad girl. A yogini, which is the female word for a person who does yoga. And also, Joan, you're a counselor. As I mentioned in the other interview, you're a poet, a singer, and now you're a writer. You're writing a book. That's fantastic.
If I ever have the discipline to finish it.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's quite a job, I've been told. And are you going to be talking about your adventures in your book?
Oh, definitely.
Yoo-hoo! First copy sold. Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. And we talked a lot about yoga in the other interview, and I would like to talk about. I'd like to gear this one towards your counseling work that you've done with people and how you help people through your work, through your life experiences with many things, many experiences that you've lived through, and not in the traditional therapeutic ways. So tell us a bit about, and please include some stories.
Okay. Yes, I just told Ilya that in the North American Indian tradition, I was given the title the storyteller. So that is how information comes to me and how I'm able to speak of it is mainly through stories. The counseling work, I think that it was first planted in my mind by Robert Shepard, the psychiatrist, and we used to do counseling work. And what I realized is that the emotional and the psychological are very much part of, for me, a yogic tradition because it's inclusive and all aspects of our being are inclusive. And so I remember one of my first clients, her son had committed suicide at 21, and she had found him in the car. And she had gone to a therapist, a counselor, and when she sat down, the young counselor apparently had taken out her book and her pen and said, "Why are you here?" This woman said, "Because my son committed suicide and I don't even want to be alive." And that young woman said, "And so how does that make you feel?" And I realized at that time that so many of people who study psychology do not allow their hearts and their being and their soul to be part of it. And so I remember saying to this woman, I don't think I can help you because that's an experience I've never had. And I remember her answer, she just said, so I'm going to stay here and go through this voyage with you, which was an enormous, enormous gift.
Yes, absolutely.
And she turned out to be a yoga teacher, and she's moved away in the past, and I miss her dramatically. But so the counseling work is much more for me, I learn the art of really listening, of not allowing myself to get emotionally involved from my perspective. For example, I have a daughter who lives in Australia and is a big singing star, etc., and she's 51 now. And I have a client who comes with absolutely the same background as my daughter. So to work with this woman and to allow her to be herself and to stay away from my own thought process of, this is just like Wendy, this is just like, is a training for me.
On its own, yeah.
Yes. And also one of the things that helps me enormously is Swami Sham in India said, when we first got there, he said, this may be difficult for the Western mind, but there is no difference between right and wrong. Now, I think I would have an opposing attitude to that, but at some much deeper level, if I can listen to a person in counseling without inside thinking that's wrong, because if I think that's wrong, then obviously I think I know what's right.
And you want to correct it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's not. The other very basic thing that I work with is to empower the client and not to work on my own power over.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
and I work with couples, which I totally am delighted with. And there again, for whatever reason on this planet, I have no idea, but probably because I respected my father enormously. You notice I leave out my mother there.
Well, I was listening. I was thinking, when's that mother going to be mentioned?
Yeah. Well, she was a good mother, but my father was an extraordinary human being. So my tendency, but I watch it, is to internally take the side of the male, which is fascinating because I've been to every circle in the world of feminism and feminists. So I have to realize, and I have to become totally, absolutely neutral for both parties.
Yes, very important.
And what I also has been hugely, hugely helpful for me are the writings of Ken Wilber, who's talked about the different levels of consciousness. So literally in counseling, the woman can say, when it's her time to speak, the sky is blue. I'm obviously making this up. I'll say to him, what did you hear? And he'll say, she's blaming me because the sky's black and it's raining today. That's how totally
neutral.
And they're totally separate. They hear differently.
Sure.
So we work with those aspects.
Fascinating. And while I just jolt our listeners out of the fascinating subject to remind them that they're listening to CIDI 99.1 FM. The alternatives, you have choices. This is our radio show here, and we are aired on Tuesday afternoons at 5, and again on Thursday mornings at 8:30. So we are here today. I'm your host,